25?
I have plenty to say about crime. NYPD,
What would
CompStats.
you like to say? Because you were a vocal person here.
Right, crime is going up.
Issues,
Crime is going up in the city.
Yeah.
She's a criminal coddler. She sympathizes with criminals. She's not doing anything to make our streets any safer. She hacked away at the police budget. Police officers are resigning at record levels. There's no way to fill their ranks, and I just wanted to know what she was going to do about it. Our taxes are going up. Crime is going up. The infrastructure is decaying. Small businesses are closing in our communities. What are we supposed to do? And we're worried about the war in Ukraine. We're worried about drag queen story hour in our schools. Does that have any substance to the quality of life issues that we're facing today? How is that substantive in my daily life? I have a baby boy. There's carjackings. The Dunkin' Donuts near my house got robbed at gunpoint 3:30 in the morning. Police take forever to respond now because they're so short-staffed. What is she doing about making our communities safer?
What would you like to see her do? Because she's in
Instead
the
of defunding,
right?
but she voted for some of these policies, right? To gut, she gutted the budget. She took over $1 billion away from the New York City Police Department. Let's have some of that money roll back. Let's have some of that money roll back in to keep us safer. Put more police on the streets. Let's fix the roads. Let's give tax breaks to. She has an issue with the 1%. Fine, you have an issue with the 1%ers. What about the small business owners? What about the owners that are making $300,000 or less, that have multiple employees, over 10 employees? What are we doing about them? The businesses are closing. We can't keep blaming COVID and the supply chain issues. COVID is over. The federal government has agreed on that. How is she going to help the small businesses? The answer is not to allow more illegal migration into New York. It's not. Democrats know it. Republicans know it. They both want illegal migrants. The Democrats want it for votes. The Republicans want it for the cheap agricultural labors because there's lobbies on that side of the fence as well. So I would say I'm very moderate. I could see through the BS on both sides. But at the same point in time, she was speaking about having the illegal aliens, the undocumented workers. She's done absolutely nothing for DACA in her terms in Congress. Absolutely nothing. And I have a lot of friends that are part of the minority community. She's done absolutely nothing for them. This is all fluff. This is all verbal massaging. But us, the people who live in her district, we're feeling the pain. And she's not doing anything about it.
All right, thanks for commenting.
Thank you.
I just want to know more about the debt ceiling because this fight is just crazy and the ramifications are big. But I'm just glad there's at least a plan to make sure that the debt ceiling fight doesn't hurt Americans. At least there's a plan. We'll see how it works out. But I just want to make sure I knew that.
So is that that's kind of your top issue, why you were interested in this?
Well, for this town hall, that's why I wanted to come. I've been to other town halls before about the Justice Society, about the Green Deal for public housing, about how to address Corona. It was like, if there's something I wanted to ask, I wanted to come. So this was about the debt ceiling, about coming in like next week or two. So I just wanted to know more about that.
What do you think are the critical issues for you in the district right now?
We need to make sure we support our businesses. We have to support our immigrant population. We just got to make sure that everyone gets what they need. And I think this is a district that deserves the best.
All right, thank you.
Anytime.
We're here at the town hall, and I'm asking people why they came and what are the most pressing issues in your mind.
There's a lot of pressing issues in my mind. I am one of her constituents. I live in Astoria, so I'm in Congressional District 14. I really disliked her predecessor, and I was dying for him to get out of office, and then she primaried him, and I voted for her just because she was primary challenging him. No one expected her to win, least of all him, least of all her, but she won. Then I started to find out who I had voted for, and buyer's regret. She said a couple of things tonight that were not true, and she ducked a couple of things. And I wanted to ask her about some of that. For instance, she talked about this debt ceiling crisis is like such a big deal. There were 3 in the last administration. There are 13 that I can remember. There have been, I think, 20 in my adult life. This whole thing about the debt ceiling crisis is a disaster. It's going to bring an end to the world. Children are going to go hungry. We're taking the milk out of babies' mouths. None of that is true. Government shutdowns, we've been through government shutdowns. When she was seated in the Congress, we were in the middle of a government shutdown. So I don't want to hear it. She's so concerned about a government shutdown, forego your pay.
Sorry, it's really all right. We'll be okay.
Which she promised to do when she was a Congresswoman-elect, but then when she was seated, she reneged on that. You want to save money? Okay, don't take any pay while the government is shut down. The bit about the immigration, it's politically incorrect to say that there's any difference between legal and illegal immigration. My father was an immigrant, a legal immigrant. He came with permission. He had a sponsor. His sponsor promised to keep an eye on my father to make sure that he wasn't a criminal and wasn't going to be a ward of the state. People coming in now are coming in illegally, and there's no such promise. My father spoke 3 languages when he got off the boat. English was not one of them. He made a point of learning English. What we've got now is a huge number of immigrants, illegal immigrants, who are not assimilating. They're not learning English. And I understand how immigrants are good for our economy, but you can have too much of a good thing. If you have a headache and you take 2 aspirin, you will feel better. If you take 12 aspirin, you're going to get tinnitus and eventually go deaf, and you're going to punish your stomach. If you take 100 aspirin, you're going to kill yourself. It's possible to have too much of a good thing. So, all right, we got immigrants coming in who can take the jobs that are unfilled. When do we stop? How many is too many? We've taken 2.5 million people in the last 2.5 years. Is that enough? Do we stop at 3 million? Do we stop at 5 million? Do we stop at 10 million? What's the limiting principle? Nobody wants to say anything about that. I want to talk about immigration reform. Give me one specific. One specific. We will not take people of X background, X age, X origin. We will limit this. Give me one specific. What we've got right now is an absolutely wide open door. We're releasing people on a parole to come back for a court date. At the moment, the court dates for the people who've crossed the border in the last week is in the year 2035. I wish I was making that up. I've been to the border. I've been to Texas 4 times in the last 2 years. I've been to places where you can see paths carved in the dirt where the illegals came across and discarded things along the way. You can tell that they've been through there. Now the latest thing is they're discarding their ID so they can, not be sent back to where it is they came from. And they're not all coming from Mexico. They're not all coming from Central America. They're not all coming from South America. We got people coming from Asia. We got people coming from Africa. We got people coming from the Middle East. They're showing up without identification. Where does it end? She wants to cut the defense budget. I'm a veteran. I would love to see the defense budget cut. I've seen so much waste in the Defense Department. I'd love to see the waste cut. But when I hear cut the defense budget, I'm waiting for specific. What are you going to cut? Let's cut the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program. Great. I'd love it. I'm not hearing that from her. There are so many things we could cut. And also, let's punish the people who waste money. The Navy's littoral combat ships were a multi-billion-dollar boondoggle. We're retiring them. They don't work. They're fragile. They're a bad design. Show me a Navy captain or an admiral who's getting demoted for that. Show me a contractor who is being barred from further government business because he sold us a bill of goods. Show me a construction yard that built those ships that we're saying, you stink, we're not buying your ships anymore. Where's the punishment? There's so much waste. But I'm not hearing waste. I'm hearing cut the military budget. Let's hear some more of it.
There were people here protesting her support for spending in Ukraine. Is that something that you're
I didn't hear any of that particularly. I am in favor of us supporting the Ukrainian military because what they're doing is destroying the Russian military, which is doing us a big favor. I don't care about how much money it costs. It's a bargain. However, I would like to see more accountability. I don't want it to be a blank check. I would like to see an invoice, a bill, a receipt, the money we are spending, X million, X billion dollars. How many missiles? How many tanks? How many bullets? How many artillery rounds? How many cannons? How many airplanes? All I'm seeing is number figures. So I'd like some accountability. I still think we should support them. But if you don't show me the receipts, that suggests to me that some of it's finding its way to places it shouldn't go. So it's nuanced.
Let me ask you about what you were saying about immigration, because Queens is, they call it the world's borough. We are here in the middle of...
My father was an immigrant.
Of Queens. Your father was an immigrant. But if there's one place in New York and New York City that has lots and lots of immigration, of new immigrants living all together from all different countries, it's Queens. So do you see this as a local? Do you see the increase in immigration as a local issue? Do you think things have changed?
It's both a local issue and a federal issue. The problem with the local issue level is that there is a great deal of disingenuity. People are being disingenuous. They're acting like there's no difference between legal immigration and illegal immigration, and there is. There is a difference. But all of a sudden, we're a neighborhood of it. This is probably the most diverse neighborhood.
What is a difference for you? Because there was a woman saying earlier,
the illegal immigrants came with.
They pay taxes. They contribute all the same
things.
The
legal immigrants came with permission. Mm-hmm. Permission. How many people do I have in my house? Can I let more people in my house? Yes, but not without my permission. Also, vetting. Before my father came. He came from a country that had a government. The government stank and the economy stank, but they were able to ask his country's government, is this guy a criminal? And they were able to get an answer. We had millions of people coming in. We don't know who they are. They're going away their identification. They're coming across saying, I'm John Doe, translated into whatever language they speak. We don't know. We don't know. Now, people say, they're wonderful, honest people. And chances are, the very vast majority of them are exactly that. But we don't know. Which one of them, if there's 1 in 100, if there's 1 in 1,000 who's a dangerous criminal or a terrorist, we don't know who it is. And you'd say, 1 in 1,000 isn't a lot, but you just let in 400,000 people, that's 400 terrorists. There's a difference. We need to know who these people are. Now, I don't want to create a huge bureaucracy, but I want to hear a limiting principle. Okay, we took 2.5 million. When we hit the 3 million mark, we're going to close it.
Bye, Michelle. Thank you so much for everything. Maybe
they're going to kick us out now.
Yes.
But I mean, it's not that I hate immigrants. I'm not a xenophobe. I speak 4 languages. Can I ask them to learn English? Can I ask where they came from?
Why do you think that's important for people to learn English?
Unifying factor. I've worked as a paramedic. I get to the scene and I want to know what's going on. And I want to know what's going on so I can help you, possibly save your life. You need to speak to me in a language that I speak. Now, I speak 4 of them, but most paramedics don't. And you can't pick and choose. You can't say, this guy speaks German and he'll be able to tell you the problem in German. Well, what about this guy? What about the other paramedic who doesn't speak German? We need a common tongue. Maybe in a generation it'll be Spanglish. But in the meantime, you got to be able to talk to the cops. You got to be able to talk to the teacher, your kid's teacher. You got to be able to talk to your kid's teacher. You got to be able to talk to the paramedics. You got to be able to talk to the firefighter. Where's this smoke coming from? No English. Stuff is on fire, and you can't tell them. I don't care what you speak at home. I don't care. I don't care if you speak to your buddy on the block in any language that exists. But when someone says, excuse me, can you help me? You need to speak a common tongue. You know, you're on the side of the road with a flat tire and someone pulls over and wants to help you. You can't tell them what's wrong because you don't speak English or because he doesn't speak English. We need a common tongue. It's not our official language, but we need a common tongue. And we are admitting millions and millions of people who don't speak English. We can't have a society if we don't communicate. I'm not even requiring that people agree with each other. You need to be able to communicate. How much does that cost? I would like to buy. We need that. And like I said, my father worked hard to learn English. And American English is not easy. But he learned it.